The July stats for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are out, and we have some huge changes. The two starter Pokemon that have been top tier since Scarlet and Violet's release, Meowscarada and Skeledirge, have finally fallen to UU. Without access to Grassy Glide priority, Rillaboom has also fallen down to UU. Even though Tornadus Therian got access to Bleakwind Storm, a more accurate flying type stab, losing access to Defog, Knockoff, and Toxic proved too much for the support Pokemon, and it's finally fallen to UU, along with both Thundurus Incarnate and Thundurus Therian. Tornadus Incarnate fell even lower, to the never used tier, where Pokemon like Haunter and Hatchram are staples. Hisuian Samurott sits at number 5 in usage for all of Scarlet and Violet, because of his great typing and ceaseless edge setting up spikes while attacking. But Stoneaxe couldn't save Kleavor, who has fallen down to UU. There's so many other fantastic threats that have fallen down to UU, like both forms of Basculegion, Galarian Moltres, and even Breloom. Garchomp itself even almost fell down to UU, as it barely had enough usage to stay OU. There were a ton of other changes, so let's dive right into it. We have so much to cover. We'll be talking about the OU usage stats first, then I'll be going over the drops as well, and of course the rises after that. I'll have timestamps down below for everything. I need to know your thoughts, guys. Let me know down below. And also, if you're new to the channel, make sure you sub. I'm on my way to 400k. If everybody who watched this video today subscribe, I can hit 400k by the end of the day. So usage stats first. You see Great Tusk there because my boy is still number 1. Even when Lander is back, I think everybody predicted this because yeah, Lander is obviously losing Defog, and Knockoff is pretty big, even Toxic. That doesn't mean that Landorus is not bad, as we see it is number 14 in usage. However, Tusk continues to reign supreme as the best Rapid Spinner in the tier, best Knockoff user in the tier, best Earthquaker in the tier, and obviously a lot of sets that are running around right now, or one set that's running around right now is the Booster Energy Bulk Up set. With Ice Spinner as a means to deal with both Zapdos and Landorus. I've even seen Terra Ice on this, which I think is pretty crazy. And that one runs sometimes no attack. That way you can get just an absolute speed boost from Booster Energy. So I think that's really cool. But we see Great Tusk number 1, Dragapult number 2. Samurott has risen to number 5 in usage. I think it makes sense, right? The incredible spikes that this Mon gets up simply by attacking. It completely warped the metagame, actually, because Hatterene is now number 29 in usage, and I believe it was number 14 the month prior. So it completely warped it because you really can't stop spikes from going up now, right? Previously, Hatterene could swap in on Tinglu and even Great Tusk if it wanted on Stealth and whatnot and bounce them back, but not this because Ceaseless Edge and all that stuff spikes go after, so it ignores it. We see the two fairies at number 6 and 7, Iron Valley and Enamorus, which is also another reason why, I mean, I kind of skipped over King Gambit, but that Mon's a demon. You guys know King Gambit's a demon, right? I don't got to talk about this Mon. This Mon is the I'm going to win even if I play bad Mon, because Supreme Overlord's boosting my stats no matter what. I'll sack all my Pokemon and then I'll win 50-50s at the end with Terra. Oh, I'm going to run low kick for myself, but I'm Terra Fly, so you can't low kick me back. Oh, but you Kowtow cleave me type of thing, right? But the two fairy types are number 6 and 7. This is, I mean, we knew this was going to happen, right? With Volcarona being banned, the literal best fairy check in the tier, it makes sense that the best mix attacker and the best special attacker in terms of fairies are number 6 and 7. And Enamorus being able just to spam Specs Moonblast, Scarf Moonblast, of course. The Calm Mind set is super good too. Actually, this Pokemon in particular, guys, is because it has Q-Charm as its normal ability, because you don't want to run on Calm Mind variants, you don't want to run Contrary. You basically should run female Pokemon if you can, because this Mon's set to female, so that way you can't activate Q-Charm. So if you're running a Pokemon with contact moves, so let's say you're running Hisuian Arcanine, right, and for whatever reason you actually don't knock out Enamorus. Let's say you went for Extreme Speed, you don't knock it out, make it female, so that way it doesn't have a chance to Q-Charm you. So that's just a little tip. But yeah, obviously Val has moved up a lot in popularity and no longer has to run Liquidation either as a means to deal with Volk. And even Skeletor just started to fall off, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But Swordsdance set, Encore sets, this set is like running through. This set is literally running through World Cup right now. It's just Swordsdance, Encore, and then we see Calm Mind sets doing the exact same thing. Booster Energy got even better. Again, no Volk is pretty nasty. See, and then of course we see an Enamorus. We already know, like I said, Calm Mind, Substitute, sub 3 attacks, or excuse me, Combine 3 attacks can also work with Terra Ground as a means to deal with Galarian Slowking, probably the best enabler in the entire tier. Galarian Slowking was a mon that kind of took the place of regular Slowking as well, and again, we'll touch on that a bit too, because that mon fell off as well. But just everything about this mon, the biggest thing is it got is Chilly Reception, right? So a regular Galarian Slowking, well, Galarian Slowking in the previous generation never had a move that could teleport, right? That was the difference between it and Slowbro and Slowking. They couldn't teleport, but now Galarian Slowking has this Chilly Reception, allows it to get on out. It also allows it to set up Hail for Baxcalibur, which is pretty big, and which is number 12 in usage, by the way, Baxcalibur. And the reason Baxcalibur is number 12 in usage is because with Terra, it can beat everything in the top 10. Bax is insane. Wouldn't be surprised if eventually we see something being done about that Pokemon, but who knows. But yeah, so Chilly Reception, obviously it switches in on Iron Valley and Anemorous, can tank hits from Golden Go and Dragapult as well. Terra Waters to deal with Great Tusk. Terra Water is probably the most common one. You might see Terra Fairy too, but I think Terra Water is the best as well, just to boost your Surf so you're not trapped by Taunt Heatran. And then you'll see like the Chilly Reception, Surf, Future Sight sets, obviously. Future Sight obviously being good. You even have access to Toxic Spike, which I think is good. Some people even run Trick with Black Sludge, which I think is another cool little tech that you can run on this as well, cripple a Pokemon. But basically being able to enable other Pokemon getting Baxcalibur. You have the Ice type defense boost as well. Like this mon is amazing, right? Assault Vest is really good too. It's just a great pivot. Little surprised to see Dragonite at number 9 in usage, I'll be honest. I feel like that's like a mon I don't see a lot on the ladder at the moment. I don't think it's bad by any means. I've seen Ice Spinner for sure, but I think Encore Knight is really good right now. Just because it takes advantage of like you going for weaker moves like hazard setup moves or rapid spin or anything like that for Great Tusk. But the number 10 is probably the one I'm most hyped about, and that is Zapdos. Zapdos has once again risen, man. It's so nice. It's so nice to see this Pokemon being good again, right? Because especially if you played Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, where this mon just fell out completely. But it's really nice to see Zapdos being a top tier OU threat at number 10 in usage. Big thing, obviously, Static is amazing. The number 1 set that people are running right now is Discharge. You got your Hurricane. You got your Roost. It lost Defog, which sucks. It definitely lost Defog, which sucks. But obviously, still has access to Boots, which is great. The lack of knockoff in the tier is really good too, since most of the time you will be keeping your Boots. Static, being able to hurt Great Tusk, obviously, King Gambit. Last move is kind of up to you. If you're really worried about Iron Treads, you run Heat Wave. Though Heat Wave is pretty rare. U-Turn is good for momentum on like Landorus or Great Tusk. Volt Switch, obviously, if you don't care about those. But those are typically the sets you'll see at the end of that. It also did lose Weather Ball, but that's, I mean, that matters for Rain a lot, right? But that doesn't matter outside of Rain itself. Speaking of Rain, Pelipper actually managed to stay OU, which is pretty cool considering the mons that use Pelipper did not. But yeah, Zapdos being a top tier threat, I love it. I love it. It's a check to Zamazenta as well because you paralyze it. You can Terra as well, obviously. Check to Amoonguss. Like the only mons in OU that Zapdos does not like, because everything, even Glowking, it can beat with Discharge Paras, are like Garg and Tinglu. And then obviously Claude, and if you're not running Heat Wave, it's Iron Treads. Besides that, you just really don't care. Like Zapdos is just so freaking good at throwing them off, right? And then we see again mons that you see in OU. I love that Landorus and Heatran are like the pair at 14 and 15. Cool to see Heatran still being good, even though it lost Toxic, which is big. If that thing lands Magastorm, it's really freaking good. And obviously Terra is amazing too. Walking Wake is also really, really strong right now, which is why it's kind of funny that Sun is gone. But just booster energy, Walking Wake is super strong with agility and substitute. Those are all options that it can run as well. And then we see that Hoopa managed to stay OU at number 33. And then the really cool one as well is that, well, not cool, but kind of wild, right? Garchomp. Garchomp is number 5 in usage. I really feel like, I'm going to be honest, me, Blim, all people doing these videos might have kept this mon OU because this mon was definitely not being used. It was just shy. So it's 4.52 before the cutoff for UU, right? And Garchomp, I believe, had like 5.22. So just above that type of usage. But it ended up being there. Iron Treads actually used more than Garchomp, which is crazy, right? Because last month, Iron Treads was like the last Pokemon on the list, almost fell down. But now there's a high ladder stall team that Treads is being used on. Being able to wall Zapdos is really big, and being able to spin on Zapdos, your Golden Goat check, and also the big thing is, well, like you can switch it on an Amorous and Val, or specifically an Amorous, right? At least once or twice. And then we see Volcanion staying OU as well, which I think is pretty cool. Specs is strong. I also think that the one set that some people run is the Taunt. This is for like fatter teams, but the Taunt Fire Spin set is really nice to be able to beat things like Pex, and obviously with your Terra, you can also beat things like Ting-Lu and stuff like that. So it's a wall breaker, or a stall breaker, excuse me. At that, we do see Dozo and Rotom and Pelipper, like all these water types, just barely survived in the OU tier. The cutoff. Dozo would have been interesting in the UU tier. And again, Sandy Shocks. And this is like, I think this is the only move that we got. But Sandy Shocks moved from UU, which is really big, by the way, because if you look at the actual tiers itself, Sandy Shocks was number 2 in UU, 27% users. 27% of teams had Sandy Shocks on them, and Sandy Shocks moved up to the OU tier. A lot of the sets that I'm seeing at the moment are literally just Booster Energy lead with Terra Ice as a means of knocking out things like Great Tusk and Landorus. It's just a good spiker as well, offensive one that can Volt Switch on Samurott as well. You don't have to run Booster Energy. You can run Boots. I think Boots is really good with like Volt Switch, Spikes, Thunderbolt, and then Earth Power. I think it's fine too as well. Just a really good spiker right now, especially because I think this has to do with the fact that Hatterene usage is really low too. But also it's a spiker that sets up on Zapdos. That's the biggest thing, right? It resists or is immune to Zapdos' attacks. So it's a spiker that can set up in that and actually threaten things. So that's one of the main reasons why that Mon. But that's kind of the OU tier and like what it's looking like right now. We do see Pelipper, like I said, made it, but not Pelipper made it, but not any of the Pokemon that abuse water besides Wake, Azu, and there's the other one that I'm missing off the top of my head, Volcanion. But none of these Swift Swim Pokemon made it, so that's pretty big, especially for the EU tier. So let's look at, not this, but let's look at the drops, because I know that's what you're here for. Okay, so a lot to go over, guys, a lot to go over. First one, we're gonna damn near go in order with this too. OU to UUBL, Hydreigon. Now this is interesting because again, this has a lot to do with the fact that we got, you know, an Amorous and like the fairies in the tier right now, but obviously like those top guys. But I still think it's super freaking strong. I think Hydreigon's really strong, and we're actually seeing it's be decent in World Cup as well. But the sub nasty plot set, obviously losing Roost is the big thing. It's funny because it's actually not UUBL. It's actually going to be UU. This Iron Hands and Iron Leaves are being unbanned. So all these Mons are going to be UU again at the same time. Iron Leaves was absolutely broken in UU on dual screens with Booster Energy. Absolutely broken. Hands is also pretty broken too. So it's cool to see the Hydreigon come back. I do think the Hydreigon will eventually rise up again in time, of course, especially if something will be done about Val, Gambit, and like specifically Iron Valley and King Gambit. I think something might be done about them in the future. I think there was a survey that went out about them. So that'll be interesting. But Hydreigon being allowed again in the UU tier is going to be pretty crazy. Again, there's a distinct lack of fairies in this generation, right? In this generation specifically, there is a distinct lack of fairies. So when you think about this, like if you look at the UU tier, the only fairy types that are in the UU tier besides Mimikyu is Screamtail, which is like not a spec switch, and also Screamtail is very, and Tinkaton, excuse me, which are not like fantastic switch-ins to Hydreigon at all, especially with it's literally Jugulus, but with the ability to have Levitate naturally and not be weak to Stealth Rock, right? Like it's and have Nasty Plot. So it's like Iron Jugulus. Iron Jugulus is really freaking good in the UU tier as well. Though it's not top 10 in usage anymore, but it's really freaking good in the UU tier. So it's cool to see, you know, an actual check the Greninja's water move, shrugs off, Zoroark's hits too. So interesting to see that this dragon is there. But a few of the ones that I think, and we actually, maybe I will skip around a little bit just when we go about it, but we saw Sandy Shocks, like you said, that was a pretty big one. Arcanine. Arcanine is another Mon that I'm not sure, Hisuian Arcanine. I'm not sure if this is something that'll end up staying UU. There's no Great Tusk, right? There's Average Tusk, aka Donphan, down here, but there's no Great Tusk. There's no Sandy Shocks. As like I'm talking about like natural head smash switch-ins to this tier that are gonna also take like blitzes, at least one. There's none of that in this tier, right? There's really none of that in the UU tier. Again, just going through you. Aloe gets 2 KO. I mean, it's a wall breaker. It's a wall breaker. There's Hippo, but Hippo gets 2 KO by Flare Blitz. So, like, Flare Blitz specifically is going to be extremely hard to pivot into when it comes to this tier. Even like Bro, like, so I think it's going to be like a crazy wall breaker that we might even see. This is a mon that I can see being, if it's not like high tier UU, it's going to be UUBL in my opinion. Just incredibly hard to switch into. I think also Terra, it has a good speed tier as well, like over Quavo and stuff. So it has a good speed tier. Doesn't care about Talonflame, can't be burnt, right? It comes in for free on Tinkaton as well. Thunder Wave obviously is a thing, but like doesn't care about half the mons. Eats Scissors hits too. You can also go Terra normal to have faster extreme speeds. I actually think it has a niche in OU when it comes to Terra normal itself. But really nasty wall break in the tier. I think Galarian Articuno is going to be similar. Not hard to switch into, but hard to stop once it sets up. And this is another mon that I could see being, why can't I find this? It's another mon that I could see being banned just because of the Combine Recover set or even the Stored Power set with Terra. Like, Terra is what pushes this Pokemon over the edge. And I'm not sure if the lower tiers are allowed to do anything about Terra when the higher tiers can't or aren't doing it yet. Like, I know that usually the way it works is that the lower tiers follow the higher tiers in terms of, usually the lower tiers follow the higher tiers in terms of like, okay, if Dynamax gets banned here, it's going to get banned everywhere, but I know that sometimes they do their own thing as well. So they sorry, I just had a comment that said, I guess you're right on my Asulian Samurott video that was going to be really good, my short, but then on Cleaver was really bad, but we'll get to Cleaver in a second. But yeah, they typically follow, but I mean, with Terra, I can't see this thing being like, I can't see this thing being bad, right? You could go Terra Fire to resist Bullet Punch, to take on Tinkaton, to take on Talonflame, to on Talonflame. You can go, obviously, Terra Fighting, right? Terra Steel. There's so many, Terra Ground. There's so many freaking options on this Pokemon, and especially in dual screens, which is going to be, you know, a thing here, right? Because you lost Sandy Shock to dual screens, but you still have Espeon, and, I mean, there's Grimmsnarl as well. So, like, that's going to be a crazy thing for this tier. The Combine, not even Recover sets, right? If you're running it on dual screen specifically, you can run Combine Agility, Store Power, right? So this is going to be with your, you can run Terra Blast last if you don't want to run Hurricane, but you can easily run Hurricane too. But you can run Terra, depending on your Terra, to have Stab if you don't want to use Hurricane on that. Azelf, fantastic lead Pokemon for the tier. That's nice. Like, I mean, I'm sure you're going to see, like, your offenses, especially with Sandy Shocks being gone, like your Focus Sash, Taunt, Explosion crap. Like, you're normal. You know, your bread and butter. Your bread and butter of Azelf. I'm sure this is what we're going to see when it comes to Azelf. And Nasty Plot sets can probably be good. If we look at the UU tier itself, it has a really good speed tier, right? Ties with Float Slow. Cyclizar is faster and can threaten it with knockoff. Gren is faster, but like, and Hawlucha is faster. But like, these are all mons that like I can Terra into a fairy for the most part and deal with. So offensively, Specs or even Extra Belt might be good too. This is something we saw in previous gens UU too. So like, just things like that I could see. But like, obviously, Focus Sash is the first thing that comes to mind when I think about Azelf. Now, Basket Legion, both of them are UU. Both Basket Legion female and male are UU. So really interesting because Pelipper stayed OU. I'm sure they're going to still see a lot of usage in the OU tier. Just not enough, but a lot of usage in the OU tier because of Rain. That's not to say that manual Rain can't be a thing. You look through this tier list. We have so many mons that can set up Rain, right? You have Torn with Prankster, Rain Dance. You have Thundurus that can do it as well. And we'll talk a little bit about that. I was talking about Tornadus Incarnate, by the way, obviously, which is, you see where that mon's tier is. Look at it next to Hoopa. Look at it next to Weird Ear. Like, what are you doing down there, bro? But just again, funny changes. But Manual Rain, obviously crazy. I think the big thing as well is that choice, adaptability sets with Wave Crash are broken. Like, this does not need Rain to be good at all. It doesn't need Rain to run Psychic Fangs for Quavo, though you'll Wave Crash most of the time. And like freaking Liquidation, like I don't see what else you need on the Choice Band set. And like even on the that's that one, and like even on the Choice Specs on this one, Choice Specs might even be better because, what's it called? What's this mon called? Wo-Chan, live Wo-Chan reaction. Just because again this thing weakens it. That's like the best answer to this, right? That'll be a good answer to this. Maybe you'll run Terra Blast Fight for that. Though with adaptability that'd be whack because you don't get your adaptability on the other one, but. just because of Wolchen actually being good in this tier, like you might see a Specs one running more with Surf. And you don't even need anything besides Surf, right? But obviously you have your Surf, your Shadow Ball, your Ice Beam, and then your filler, right? Your filler could be Hydro Pump or Hex, depending on the team. I think Hydro Pump is probably the one you're gonna want though, before the just extra damage when necessary. But like Specs looks insanely good as a wall breaker because it's bulky. It's bulky. Even Sub, I think that's something too. We didn't see that in OU because we did see Sub on Rain, but like even Sub leftovers looks really nasty, man. With like Sub leftovers look crazy, especially because it subs on Pokemon like Alomola for days. Like it doesn't have to worry about Alomola, and like Bramble. Like if Bramble's coming in, or like Donphan, it forces out or breaks sturdy. So it's a really nice, like strong, two very strong wall breakers. I want to know your thoughts on every single Pokemon, guys. I better see freaking paragraphs and 10,000 comments down below. I want your thoughts on every single one. Ooh, Hisui and Braviary. I'm excited about this. I can't wait, guys. So listen. I'm gonna tell you straight up. These tiers, maybe not UU, but I know like NU and some of the other ones are gonna be banning stuff. Maybe UU. By probably, I would say by Wednesday, you'll probably see your first few bans in lower tiers, right? So get started once they're allowed. Because currently I'm on the team builder, you see they're not allowed. But once they're allowed, get started on using these mons while you can. All right, I gotta follow my advice. I might not be able to, but get started on using these mons while you can, because some of them are probably just gonna be banned. So obviously the big one when it comes to Braviary is going to be Tinted Lens Hurricane, just because it has no resist. But I don't think you even need that. I think Sheer Force is stupid good in this tier, right? Because there's no Heatran in this tier, right? And the steel type is the steel type in this tier is weak to fire, right? Tinkaton in this tier is weak to fire. Fortress is weak to fire. Magnezone is weak to fire. Earthworm is obviously weak to fire, which is RU as well. Scizor. So I say that because again, the main steel type in OU besides Golden Go is the Heatran, which is not. So like this set in particular, dude, looks insane. And you don't even need to. You can run agility. You can run agility if you want. Obviously, you can run Hurricane. Tyranitar problem. I don't even know what like Psychic, Heat Wave, Close Combat for T-Tar to Oko it. Like what else do I need? What else do I need? Oko on Bisharp. You can run like your Terra Fight, your Terra Dark. For resistance to dark in general. This will hit something like, you can also just, like I said, run Terra Fight. That way you can hit like Hydreigon and stuff for a KO. But like things like this just looks absolutely insane in the tier. For Gren and all that stuff. I mean, you could also, obviously a flying move can be here too if you want. I was just thinking about knocking out T-Tar in one hit, knocking out Gren in one hit, knocking out Hydreigon in one hit. But if y'all want to go for, you don't need this. You could also just go last move can be a flying move as well. Flying is really good. I'm just saying that Psychic looks extremely good in this tier because Psychic into like Heat Wave, into Close Combat deals with all the switching. So as a Sheer Force wall breaker, this might be the Nidoking of the tier. This might be the Nidoking of the tier. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. But this may be the Nidoking of the tier because it's just so hard to switch into. It's literally Nidoking, right? This is your Sludge Wave. This is your Flamethrower. This is your Earth Power. This is what Nidoking wishes it had. It's like the damn Nidoking of the tier. So, and obviously, I didn't even talk about Esper Wing sets with Tinted Lens and Calm Mind. Like, that's something crazy as well that can happen with, again, looking at the tier. Like, you can run, like, Terra Ground if you want to hit, like, Tyranitar plus Tinkaton. If you don't want to run Heat Wave on Calm Mind sets. I think those are all very, very, very viable. Crazy wall breakers. There's no freaking way this mon. Dude, this mon is crazy. Dude has everything, too, right? Bro has Close Combat now. Dude has Gunk Shot, so good luck switching into your Bramble Gas. I'm sure Bullet Seed does 10 million to Bramble Gas too. Like I don't know. You can even run Rock Tomb if you want for like Ments and stuff like that too. Terra SD sets sound crazy. The fact that the power level is so much weaker in this tier makes a big difference for Breloom, right? Like Breloom is a nasty. Always, whenever Breloom goes to UU, it's a nasty Pokemon. I remember when they unbanned it when I was doing Ammo Pump to the top. Didn't stop it from getting faked out, but like still a nasty mon. Like the fact that it's in Terra, obviously this is like a more choice band set. You don't have to run Gunk Shot. You can run Rock Tomb on choice band sets too. But like choice band sounds crazy. Focus Sash lead again. Like on the Azelf team that on the Azelf lead, you can easily run like Sash spam in this tier. The fact that you come in safely on a Powdon is going to be another one. This might be another one that ends up getting looked at. The Fall of Sarah ledge, man. Big ledge. A lot of this video is going to be like, yo, this mon looks good. Yo, this mon looks good. Yo, this mon looks good. I'm just telling you my thoughts, man. I'm just giving you guys my thoughts. But Cerulege is interesting because I actually think it's harder to pull off in this tier. I actually think it's harder to pull off in this tier than the other tiers, specifically because the water types in this tier are good, whereas in OU, Rotom is like really passive. But here we have Quavo, we have Greninja, we have Gyarados, like more offensive waters, Floatzel, then get obviously a nice little Terra Grass will change that. So maybe it doesn't even matter, right? Because this is also a nice switching to all that stuff. Like it's like bulk up and storage. It's obviously again on that whole SD offensive. Like this plus Breloom plus Azoth seems like a really good offensive focus spam core. But like bulk up sets, Bitter Blade obviously. You want your close combat potentially with bulk up, and then maybe I guess you can go Shadow Sneak in this tier. If you go Terra Grass, maybe you even go Terra Blast, over close combat. Like maybe even Terra Blast over close combat, so you just don't drop your stats. That also let you hit T-Tar anyway. You can run weak armor, of course, too, but Flash Fire looks pretty decent. This mon actually looks pretty hard to take down. Again, I'm thinking Terra Blast over that for like Quavo, and for like basically not lowering your stats. That's the big one, right? Not lowering your stats. Like Grass, Fire, and Ghost coverage is really, really freaking good. And like Shadow Sneak being the only thing that touched Slowbro, you don't want that. So I think this set might be nice. Obviously, Talonflame is something that could take it on, but only like you can run a different Terra. You don't have to run Terra Grass. Obviously, guys, give me your thoughts in here. What would you use? Because I think also Terra Ghost is not bad either. But I think being resistant to, or not weak to, both water and dark is pretty important when it comes to the tier. So I think that's why Grass has a shot at being decent. And of course, obviously being a Grass type, you're not weak to fire because of Flash Fire. So Cresselia is an interesting one because this is something that has actually seen a little bit of tournament play, though it's not doing that well in World Cup. I think it's also fighting bad matchups, but this is also something people have used earlier when a lot of mons are allowed along with Zamazenta. But like the Terra Calm Mind Poison obviously is a big one that comes to mind because it can Calm Mind stored power. There's not a lot of status besides Thunder Wave in the UU tier, right? Obviously Rotom can Wisp as well, but like there's not a ton of status. But if you want, you could use your Lunar Blessing, which is basically Jungler Healing. That's obviously an option that this Pokemon can use. But if not, you can go Moonlight for a little bit more recovery. And then your last move can probably just be Moonblast, right? Like you don't really need much. This is standard Crest. You don't really need much else besides this. You just Calm Mind up and try and win. I'm sure it can be used on like weather teams as well, and Trick Room as well. And it might still be used in OU and Trick Room as well too. But definitely like not like a meta changing Pokemon, just a good wall staple that can probably win games. Obviously Taunt susceptible and things like that too, but like Terra Poison just seems solid. Like, it just seems really, 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 really solid in this tier potentially. All right, so Decidueye. So in Decidueye, I mean, dude's just slow, man. That dude was not gonna stay OU, even if it had like a niche of being able to close combat Golden Go. In this tier though, like unguardable close combats are really, really nice because there are a few ghost types in this tier. So that's pretty nice when it comes to this Pokemon, right? You got Zoro, you got Gengar, you got Bramble. Bramble's a big one, right? Because grass fighting would otherwise be walled, but being able to close combat that, which I think is pretty cool for this mon as well. A Defogger that can actually come in on Donphan, I think is really nice as well, especially when you look at the usage stats. Like Donphan's number 9, so being able to come in on that, being able to check Cyclizar, would have been able to check what's it called, Sandy Shocks as well. But you might even see like some random Terra Ice for Salamence and things like that, or Terra Rock for like Mence plus the Talonflame in itself. But knockoff, just basically giving the tier knockoff, U-turn, Roost, Defog. I like its support. I like the support options. You know, Diancie is really interesting because I feel like this mon is extremely scary. Every time I fought it in OU, it's just been like some Calm Mind, Diamond Storm, Body Press, like Draining Kiss set, and it's been really. And it doesn't even have to run this. Like it can run. It doesn't have to run that. It doesn't have to run Body Press. I've seen Protect on it. I've seen Rock Polish. I've obviously seen this too. Like, this is very, very, very scary with Terra Water. And it still looks very scary with Terra Water in that tier as well. Right, like, he commined up, and then he just starts sweeping. I actually think this mon's very scary with Terra. I think it's a low-key threat that's going to be not, like, people aren't gonna feel it coming. But, oof, Hisuian Electro. Now, this mon actually might have found a home. Now, it's kind of, obviously, Sandy Shocks has the role of Spiker, and obviously Sandy Shocks is also stronger, but it's a Volt Switcher that doesn't care about ground types, right? Right, obviously the Volt Switch, Thunderbolt or Discharge, usually Thunderbolt. If your specs, Leaf Storm in my opinion, and then your last move can be Terra Blast, and then your Terra Blast can be Fairy, it can be Ice when it comes to this tier. I think Ice is not bad at all for Ments and Haxorus and things like that, but I think Fairy can do the exact same thing. And also resist like Iron Jugulis's Dark Pulse, which is something it would go for and not be weak to that. So I think that Terra Blast Fairy, like this set in particular, I think both heavy duty boots and spec sets look really nice. Also, the fact that it can run Modest is cool. No, it's nowhere near as strong as Sandy Shocks. In fact, Sandy Shocks is almost as strong as it without any investment, which is pretty sad. But I really wish they give this thing a slight buff. Like, we don't need 80 special defense. Get rid of that. We don't need 70 defense, give it 60 or something like that, or just get rid of it. You know, give me 10 attack and give me the rest in special attack, and then buff its defense to 80 as well, and then buff its HP to 70. Like, you know, we don't need that. But I actually think that offensively, it sounds very scary in this tier. Maybe not necessarily boot sets, but also spec sets. Just choice lock sets. Being faster than all the fastest Pokemon in the tier is a big thing, right? Like, naturally. You have a really, really, really good speed tier over every single Pokemon in this tier. Besides, like, booster energy boosted Pokemon, you're faster than everything in this tier. And you actually threaten with this set in particular. So I'm excited to see Hisuian Electrode on some Volt Turn, on some Spike Stack. That's the way I'd use this mon. I also think it has some viability in OU. Very little, but I think it has viability in OU too. For the exact same reason. Enamorous, just like Diancie. Calm Mind sets with Terra are going to be annoying as hell to deal with. It's actually very good that a Pokemon like Alolan Muck fell down. But yeah, Calm Mind variants with Terra are going to be... Again, I think we're going to see a lot of bans, guys. In the UU tier specifically, I think we're going to see a ton of bans. Because Calm Mind Iron Defense sets on stuff, when there is no toxic... Even if there was toxic, right? They just run Terra Poison, especially on like like this mon in particular. They run like Terra Poison, or they'd run Terra Steel. I think it's big. I think it's big. So the Calm Mind Iron Defense Draining Kiss set. This is like the Quavo answer. Doesn't have to worry about anything like that. Donphan answer. And you just run a Terra type that doesn't lose to be honest, even Donphan Earthquakes you or Hippo Earthquakes you. That's okay. Right? As long as you don't lose to Gengar. You can run Terra Ground if you want as well. You can run Terra Fire for Wisps and things like that. I don't know. This mon just looks nasty. Terra Fairy, obviously, for the nuke as well. And then you run Earth Power last for Gengar. And Tinkaton and things like that, like you're gonna Encore Tinkaton is gonna need to work overtime, and then it knocks you off and Thunder Waves you, and this is gonna be a problem. This mon's gonna be a problem for like this reason in particular. Glass Create. I really wish this mon was just slightly faster. Obviously, I know that its whole role isn't supposed to be. However, I think very similarly, Terra. I'm gonna say Terra a lot in this because Terra is gonna be what makes these mons crazy, right? But like Swords Dance Crash. Close combat, and then your last move can be whatever. But this mon with boots is extremely hard to take down because while Ice type isn't the best defensive typing, 100 HP, 130 defense, and 110 special defense is really good stats. They're really good stats. They are really good stats. So your Terra can be anything on this mon. Literally anything. Terra Water. Turn yourself into a water type is fine. Turn yourself into a fairy type so you don't have to care about Quavo as well hitting you with close combat or anything like that. Excuse me. Like things like that just sound absolutely nasty when it comes to this. Choice Band is okay too, maybe on Trick Room and stuff like that. But like I think Swords and sets with boots are gonna be best. Goodra, AV Pokemon, nice little AV Pokemon. Probably the best Gengar answer now in the tier alongside Tinkaton. So a good Gengar answer with Assault Vest. A good Azelf answer. A good Special Basculin answer. So just like a nice little AV special wall in this. This thing pairs really well. Alamola. I've used an OU Alamola. We've seen people using Draft Alamola as well. And also just in general, I think it's going to be a good UU mon with AV. This and Alolan Muck I think are going to be the great new additions for Assault Vest Mons in the tier. And just having your natural billion resistances because you're Steel and Dragon type is nice, good typing. I don't think curse sets are as scary on this one, maybe with Dragon Tail, but I think Terra Fairy is something we'll see a lot of just because of all the dark types in the tier. But I do think Assault Vest is going to be where this Mon shines. Cleavor is interesting, right? Because there's no Great Tusk and there's no Tread, specifically Great Tusk in this tier. However, there's solid switch-ins like Chestnut, Donphan. But even then, like being able to get up rocks, having potentially Swords Dance and even Xers. I think Xers actually isn't terrible here because of Slowbro, because of Wo-Chen. Like, this might be Cleavor's home, or are you? But just on offensive teams, right? If I'm running hyper offense, right? Let's say I'm running dual screens. So my dual screens will consist of either Espeon or Grimmsnarl, and then a bunch of setup mons. Cleavor is not a bad option because I still want rocks, but I don't want to waste turns setting up rocks. In previous times where I ran dual screens, I would run like Scarf Sandy Shocks with rocks last, just because I want to get them up. But you don't, when you have limited turns with screens, you don't want to waste turns setting them up. Obviously in OU, no competition when it comes to this mon, right? No competition, because it's no competition. This mon can't compete. Excuse me, I'm not even making sense. This mon can't compete with a Pokemon like Hisuian Samurott at all. But Yu isn't bad. Like Yu might not be bad for this mon. Terra fights really good. Obviously sharpness, close combat. Like the number one thing is there's no Landers and there's no Great Tusk here. So there's no Golden Go. So like the switch-ins to this Pokemon are definitely less than what they were before. Like even mon like Chestnut's not going to take like a Swords Dance boosted Terra fight, close combat, things like that. So you might have to use your Terra on this mon, but I don't think it's a bad mon to use Terra at all. I really don't. I think that Trailblaze Terra Fly set has a lot of potential too, with acrobatics as well, with Grassy Seed because Rillaboom's there. So I actually think that's big. Oh my God, Lilligant's down here. That's really funny. So if we actually look at Hisuian Lilligant, let me actually look at something prior. But let's look at Gen 8 UU, which happens to be the Roa Spotlight, though. That's very convenient. So if you look at Gen 8 UU, right? You see all these mons that are UU, and then you see Durant right there in RUBL. But what I was actually looking for was Gen 8 OU, so I can show you the UUBL. Because Hisuian Lilligant reminds me of a specific Pokemon that was actually OU at points, but it's right here, Dracozolt. So Hisuian Lilligant reminds me of Dracozolt. Literally reminds me of Dracozolt. And I wouldn't be surprised if actually the tier ends up looking like that. But Hisuian Lilligant, reason obviously it reminds me of Dracozolt is because of the hustle ability. I think Sun has potential, obviously, because we do see Torkoal there. I'm going to just touch on Torkoal now, right? Sun not being OU is kind of wild because I think Walking Wake is actually at its best right now since a lot of people fell off from using Slowking. You saw that Slowking drop. So Sun has insane potential in the UU tier. If you want to run Chlorophyll, you can, but obviously Victory Dance, more defensive variants. There's no Landers shuffling with Intimidate and things like that. There's no Golden Gold that I have to Terra Blast into either Fire or Ghost in order to actually hit, right? That mon isn't down here. That mon isn't. Brambleghast ain't no Golden Go, all right? That mon not. I can Ice Spin or you. Like this set in particular, you can run Leaf Blade or you can run Petal Blizzard, which is the exact same thing. This is not Petal Dance. There's no additional effect. It just doesn't make contact, which is cool for like Rocky Helmets and Flame Body and things like that. So you can definitely run this. However, if I'm not mistaken, this might actually be able to touch Wind Rider because it says Petal Blizzard. So Wind moves. Let me look at Wind moves Pokemon. So you might actually have to run the other one. Categories. Let's see if Petal Blizzard is considered a Wind move. Okay, so if it's one in Wind Rider, you can't hit it with this. So you definitely have to run the Leaf Blade in that regard. But you know, they can choose. Right, so like obviously this set is insane. I think Choice Band is actually really nasty too, and kind of similar to with like Healing Wish Last could be, or Terra Blast. Kind of similar to like Dracozolt. This is gonna be a crazy nuke. There's no Buzzwole. There's no nothing that can eat hits in this tier. It's just its speed isn't even that bad. Base 105 is a decent speed tier. So another nasty mon. Another nasty mon that might end up being banned just because of that. But on Sun, like I said, with Torkoal specifically. Torkoal is something it can definitely be crazy with Drought. So that's really nasty in my opinion. You also have like Hisuian Typhlosion down there and talk about that. I'm gonna group some of these mons together, but like Hisuian Typhlosion, I keep putting Hisuian first and they're showing me everything. Let me just put Typhlosion. So Hisuian Typhlosion with this plus like Lilligant sounds really nasty. Are they really doing that right now? But this time, whatever. Anyway. I don't even know why I'm complaining. People, I don't even know who's cutting the grass too, because I thought they don't come on Saturdays. I live in an apartment, so people, they don't usually come on Saturdays, which is why I was like shocked. But like this, like a Moltres, things like this. So like this core sounds pretty nasty. Then you have obviously the Armor Rouge too, and that can do it. And then Mence is decent on this. Talonflame is decent. Shit, I might even run Quavo on my Sun team. Why not? I'm weakening my Aqua Step, but Mon still can Rapid Spin and do crap for me. But Meloetta, I feel like Meloetta is something that will eventually see use in this tier, but I don't know if it'll initially, just because it's like out of all the mons that dropped, it's just a mon that's like, oh man, this isn't as fun as the other. But obviously it has base 128 special attack and special defense combine sets. I can run combine with Terra Blast for stab as stab, and then obviously if you end up running Relic Song and you change, and let's say you run Terra Blast fighting, right? So you Terras, when you Relic Song, you become Meloetta Pirouette, or Step Form. Which one's Meloetta Pirouette? Yeah, I think this is Step Form. This Pirouette. Whatever. When you become this, it actually can become a physical stab too, which is pretty cool. So I just think that's, I just think that's nice. You can have stab on both sides, and you can just spam it. Because whether you go back and forth, it goes special in this one, it goes physical in this one, it goes special in this one, it goes physical in this one. You know what I mean? So like you don't have to do it that way, but it's just a really option. Obviously with Sleep Claws too. I think that Combine Terra Electric sets can be crazy too. Combine Terra Ground sets as well. A lot of my conversations are gonna have to do with Terra. Meowscarada, man, move over Azoth, right? This is my Focus Sash lead Spiker knockoff. Another knockoff user for the tier. Great speed tier. Toxic Spike as well for the tier. Flower Trick, obviously amazing for all the water types that kind of run over this tier, like Aloe and Quavo and things like that. Gren, just a very good speed tier, being faster than Greninja as well. So I think it's going to be an exceptional Yu-Mon, Choice Scarf and Choice Band I think are going to be really, really strong too. It sucks this mon fell off, but it kind of just isn't the meta for it right now with Zapdos coming into the tier. And it's actually still viable as well. It's actually still viable in the Trick or Switcheroo. But it's actually still viable in OU too. I just think that people are kind of like sleeping on it right now. Because I think it's still a decent spiker as well in the tier. Let me look at the OU tier list right here. Sorry about that. Let's look at that. Yeah, like I mean, Thunder Punch can knock out an Amoris, and it's mainly just Zap, right? It's Zapdos, and it's also Zamazenta as well, and Baxcalor being as good as it is. Yeah, obviously Mag had a lot to do with its usage too. Like it being worse had a lot to do with Magearna, but Magearna's gone. So I think this mon might be something that eventually moves back up. But nasty mon, nasty spike lead. Mew's weird. I think the cheese sets with like Grassy Seed and Nasty Plot, like Nasty Plot, Draining Kiss, Store Power, and then your Taunt as your last, and you run like Terra Fairy, could be interesting. I think Spikes again can do it. Mew can Dragon Dance up. It just doesn't have recovery, which is big, which is why part of the reason why it's not going to be OU. But if it eventually gets recovery back, that'll be a huge change for it. But it just doesn't have any recovery right now, and it's really, really working against Mew. It's really working against me, but you can do anything. Moltres is cool because it's actually seeing some OU usage in tournament and on the ladder. I also used it recently, but seeing in tournament, you have your Flamethrower, your U-Turn, Hurricane, Roost, Spadef set. That's supposed to be the Enamoris plus the Iron Valiant check, but also a Great Tusk, I'm going to threaten you type of thing. Obviously, there's Terra Blast Ground that could also Heatran, but in terms of UU, Moltres is typically a UU staple. But that's also because it had Defog. It doesn't have Defog. Specs can still be very scary, obviously. That's something that was really good with Choice Specs, Fire Blast, Hurricane, U-Turn, Terra Blast, like something like that. With Terra Blast, Water, Grass, whatever you want to run. But this Moltres, again, more support. I don't know if it stays. I don't think it stays. I think it still sees some usage in OU, but like goes down to RU, etc. as a breaker down there. But this one, though, no freaking way this one's going to be allowed. There's no freaking way the Berserk Moltres is going to be allowed. With the chance to flinch you, the fact that it can run Terra Blast as well with Terra Blast Ground, like Dark Ground, is literally Iron Jugulis. It's literally Iron Jugulis with booster energy, and you can run Taunt, you can run Agility, really like anything right here. But like Terra Ground just seems really, really, really nasty on this mon for Tinkaton, for the steals in general. And also, obviously, you can run Hurricane as well. This is not a Pokemon I could see staying UU for very long at all. And it's actually very good in OU too. It's used a lot in OU. It's used in tournaments as well. It's just solid. So again, might even be pulled back up to OU eventually. Muck. This is going to be a staple on like whatever you want to use. Your Assault Vest Muck is going to be your go-to. You're scared of every single setup mon, like the mon I just mentioned. You use your Assault Vest Muck, Terra Water, you Poison Jab, poison it, and then go from there. Like Vestmon's going to be a nice little UU staple as it comes to Assault Vestmons. You can easily run this Mon with like Alamola as well to give it recovery and things like that. It's just like UU is going to be just going to be a tier where it just, this Mon is going to sit there. This Mon's going to sit there. I think you might even see like the random flamethrower on it. You might even see Terra Blast Ground as well for the steals like Tinkaton. Things like that to Okodum. Good Gengar answer. Greninja answer. Has Drain Punch as well. So like knockoff as well. Like this is Shadow Sneak. No Shadow Sneak anymore. But this might actually end up being the UU staple for this. Last move can be whatever. But this, again, maybe Thunder Punch. You want to randomly hit a Gyarados and pick up a KO. Stone Edge for Rotom Heat. All those options. Elemental Punch as well. Ice Punch, Fire Punch are all... Damn! Elemental options like Ice Punch and Fire Punch are all great options on this. Again, UU staple AV for sure is where you're going to see it. Yeah, okay, you want to get louder? Okay, 1 second. All right, he finished. I'm actually grateful for him that he finished because like the air quality is terrible right now. Like that dude working on Saturday is rough, especially with like how it is right now. It literally says unhealthy air on my phone. On my phone. Anyway, Overquill. Another potential rain setter for the tier. Intimidate spikes. Honestly, rain setter. Excuse me, rain abuser for the tier. I think that's the big thing when it comes to this Mon. I really can't see much else. Like spikes is cool, but I feel like as a dark type spiker, I'd rather have Meowscarada as an option in my opinion. But Focus Sash, Intimidate Quillfish was actually a spiker back in the day, so that's definitely something that can happen now too. But there's not really anything else from there. I don't know. That's not like, I'm not sure. I think that's about it. That's literally about it. Like a spiker and Swords Dance Rain Abuser. Maybe Banded, offensive, Taunt could work too. Like sub Swords Dance could be really interesting because you set up on like Alamola and stuff like that pretty easily, and you're faster than Quillfish, so maybe that could be it. But I feel like this is the Mon that drops to RU. However, speaking of banned Pokemon, I don't think Regidrago stays. I cannot see a world where people allow this Dragon Energy, Draco Meteor, Spectre, Scarfmon that now has access to Earth Power to hit Tinkaton or even Earthquake stay. I literally cannot say, I can't see this Pokemon staying at all. Like I'm so serious. I don't think this Mon stays at all. I think the Spectre, I think the Scarf, this Mon is going to be banned in my opinion. I cannot. There's not enough. First off, there's not enough Fairy types. Also, if you want to hit the Fairy type, let's just run Terra Blast. Let's run Terra Blast Steel for potentially the damn Enamorous, right? So let's look at UU. Let's look at UU. Let's count all the Fairy types in UU. 1. So we've now counted all the Fairy types in UU. This Mon single-handedly is going to make every single Pokemon offensively and defensively run Terra Fairy. And that's like, if every single Pokemon is running Terra Fairy, literally 1 Terra because of 1 Pokemon, that Mon is ban-worthy. Alright, but this Mon has absolutely no switch-ins. There's no freaking way this Mon is going to be allowed in... I'm sorry, Drago, there's no way. 0 way this Mon is going to be allowed. And maybe it'll be an oversight for like a day or two, but I cannot see. This Mon is going to do to UU what Regieleki did to OU. Literally. It's literally going to do to UU. And the thing is, Regieleki was nerfed, right? As 1.3. We never, Transistor. We actually never got to experience that on Showdown. We always experienced the 1.5, and then we found out. But this Mon has 1.5 on Dragon's Maw. There is 0 way. I'm so adamant about this. There's 0 way this Mon stays. 0 way this Mon stays. Rillaboom. Grassy Glide was the biggest thing, right? I talked about in the intro. Grassy Glide was the biggest thing for this Pokemon, and losing Grassy Glide lost survivability. It might get Grassy Glide back because Grassy Glide got nerfed in power. So I'm assuming it gets Grassy Glide back with the DLC. We did get some like TM. There's like 30 extra TMs or whatever that are potentially coming. We don't know them yet, which is why also we saw that Milotic potentially going for Scald. So we might see Scald as a TM. We might see Grassy Glide as a TM as well. So when it does get Grassy Glide, it probably shoots back up. Right, but obviously the this thing with Terrain Extender for things like Enamorous, for things like Diancie, for things like Mew, for things like Grassy Seed, Galarian Articuno, we can definitely see this Mon on offense. We might see Choice Band or Swords Dance sets as well. Choice Scarf, which is the Woodhammer U-turn. It still has Knock because that's an Arsenal, right? And then your Stomping Tantrum, right? You're not going to run Earthquake because it gets weakened by your own thing. Do you not have Stomp? Yeah, you do. For like Tinkaton or anything like that. Drum Beating as well is an option too because Woodhammer, Choice Band, and Terrain is still going to do a lot to Tinkaton regardless of resist. So we might see Choice Band, we might see more offensive sets. I do think we'll see like some Leech Seed support sets too. And some Swords Dance, Drain Punch, like Trailblaze. Hopefully no Trailblaze, but like acrobatic sets might even do it. But like decent Dawn Fan switch into the tier. Can pivot in and can eat a hit from Quavo if he needs to. But that's about it for the tier. This Mon would actually be better in the tier if what's it called was in the tier. If Sandy Shop was still in this tier, the Mon would be a lot better. Probably the number one switching. Another starter has fallen, man. Another starter has fallen. But like honestly, unaware Skeledirge is not walling a lot in the OU tier besides Zamazenta. Which I guess is a really interesting thing to think about this Mon not being allowed, but not really dealing with Gambit, not dealing with Great Touch. There's too many Pokemon in this tier, and especially because Iron Valiant sometimes runs Terra Dark now and Encore and stuff like that. There's way too many Pokemon. It doesn't beat the Fairy type and Amorous because of Earth Power, and if it Terras, it doesn't beat Moonblast, right? And then Glow King just comes in, takes the hit, switches out. It can't like come in on Cecil's Edge from Spikes, Golden Gold. Like everything in top 10 has potential to beat this Mon, whether it be Discharge Paralysis, Knockoff, super effective, or just like outright power. So Skeledirge, and obviously with no Volcarona and no Magearna, there's no real reason to have this Mon, right? There's no real reason for this Mon to be OU at the moment, in my opinion. So, especially with Sneasler being able to cheese it with Dire Claw. I saw a couple tournament games of Sneasler immediately. I think it was 2 tournament games I saw where both Skeletors got sleep, but Dire Claw immediately. Very funny. But UU, pretty cool. Pretty cool with Terra Water, in my opinion, right? Probably the best Quavo answer in the tier with Terra Water, because even if it taunts you, you just Torch Song and then Shadow Ball to a KO, because you get your special attack raise. So Terra Water actually sounds pretty decent down here when it comes down to it, especially because it could be also like a Cerulege answer, which is why I think Terra Grass might be good. It's a Greninja answer with Spadef. It's a Gyarados answer. Like it's just so I think this might be Skeletor's home. It's a good unaware Mon. There's good Pokemon like. There's fatter Pokemon like Blissey and Alamola to support it as well. Alamola with Wish support. There's a big Mon. But I think this is a really nice tier. Doesn't have to worry about Garg salt curing it down here too. There's Nachi stacked, but ain't no Garganachi, right? Doesn't have to worry about that. So good Mon for UU. Sad to see the starters have fallen, right? First was Quavo, and then obviously Meowscarada and Skelly fell at the exact same time. But good Mon nonetheless. You know what's funny? I felt like if it had been if we had been a couple more days, Galarian Slowbro might have actually stayed OU because of the mono quick claw thing. But this Mon, another nasty Mon in my opinion, on bulkier teams with Calm Mind bulkier sets with Rocky Helmet or Cobra Berries or whatever. But also obviously the quick claw, quick draw sets. I think this will also be another Mon. Like if I had to run offense, right? If I was running dual screens offense with Grimmsnarl, this Mon's 100% on the team. Right, 44% chance or 43% chance, one of those, to actually move before my opponent. And then I have Flamethrower, Surf, and Sludge Bomb. Yeah, that's completely fine. There's my elemental colors, and I'm going to beat the entire tier with this Mon. So, good Mon. There was a thing on the OU survey that talked about Quick Claw. So Quick Claw might eventually be banned. Maybe. I don't know. I think it's funny to think about that. Also, people think Quick Claw is 10%. It's 20%, guys. It's 20%. So right now it's 20%. So just let you know, it's not 10%. Though I will say though, in the live where I use this Mon failed me the most. But still nasty, might be too much. Obviously the Regenerator, the being able to absorb T-Spikes. I wish this Mon actually had Toxic Spikes like Galarian Slowking did. I don't know why they didn't give it to this, but it already has Quick Draw, Quick Claw. I find that such a cool ability. Like, why'd they give this Mon the fast? I just think it's so funny. Even if Quick Claw gets banned, you know, it's still a 30% chance to move first, too, which isn't bad at all, which is very, really, really funny. And then even the Belly Drum sets, too, right? Like, Belly Drum Drain Punch is insane as well. Like, Zen Headbutt and then whatever filler is really insane. So, definitely a nasty Mon. Calm Mind and Nasty Blood sets also were staples back in the day in the tier 2. Slowking. So, a lot of people are kind of falling off on this Mon currently. Galarian Slowking, obviously. You can't run Slowking plus Galarian Slowking on one team. I understand Species Clause. I just think it's really dumb when they're two completely different Pokemon, right? I really think I should be able to run all 5 Rotoms on a team if I really want to, or both of these, or both Sandslashers. They're different Pokemon, but because they have the same Dex number, we gotta do it this way. Again, I really think it's dumb. I think that's kind of outdated thinking. I don't think that you need to do that at all. I don't think it breaks the game to do that for these Pokemon, right? The exceptions would be Keldeo and Keldeo Resolute because the exact same Pokemon, right? Pokemon that are literally the exact same Pokemon. Because both of them also have Secret Sword. You literally just traded back to Black and White. You traded from Black and White 2 to Black and White 1. It still has Secret Sword. It just looks different. Pokemon like this, which are completely different, I think I should be able to use them. That's just my little rant on that. What are your thoughts on that? If you got to this side, I literally want you to put the timestamp of this part of the video and give me your thoughts on that. Do you think it's stupid? You can say it's stupid. That's simply fine. I think you're wrong, but you can say it's stupid. They're different Pokemon. They're literally different Pokemon. Anyway, enough of that tangent. I still think Glowking, I think the Slowking is still really good in OU. I think it's honestly very underrated, especially because Walking Wake is so strong right now. But obviously being a poison type and being able to like resist Dire Claws and just absorb T-Spike and not be toxic by Toxapex and have the Future Sights and Chilly Reception. That's the big thing. Chilly Reception. This Mon does have Chilly Reception too. But being a pure water type, like, it's funny because Glowking wants to Terra into a water type, but doesn't want to be pure water until it feels like it, right? That's the thing. This thing has to start off pure water, which is never bad. It's never bad to have water. But in terms of Chilly Reception and enabling Pokemon in this tier, obviously this plus like Titan looks cool, as well as like other ice types like Glastrier look pretty cool with Swords Dance. Really nice enabler for the tier. It's going to be a staple, literally going to be a staple as well on balance with heavy duty boots plus Chilly Reception. It's going to be a staple. Just like last generation, you had Slowking plus Zarude UU. That's literally what's going to be with this. Huge, good Pokemon for the tier. Probably you're going to see Terra Fairy on it, I would say, because of Regidrago for a day or two. That's if people even use balance for the next day or two. If I'm you guys, I use offense. I use all these mons until they're banned. But Terra Fairy could definitely be something with Future Sight spam. Gonna be great. Future Sight plus Drago, broken. All right, so both Thunderai, both Thunderais are down here. It's funny because this one is a check to this one. But, so the big one, well, not big, but the first thing I see besides Nasty Plot and being a broken Pokemon in its own right, which it probably will be, I can't see a Nasty Plot offensive Pokemon with distinct speed, with Thunderbolt, with coverage because of Terra be there. But obviously the Rain Dance set with the Thunder, I think you use U-Turn over Volt Switch, and then I believe you can run the Terra Bolt. Wild Boar Storm's interesting. I hate this move. I hate this move because it's like, give me Hurricane. You never had it, but give it to me. Obviously Terra Blast, Ice or Water is fine too, but like I think Water on this one because it's rain is okay. But like something like this could be work, or you can run Taunt as well. So obviously a good Rain Dance setter, and there's Basco Legion, there's Overquill in this tier, right? So there's Floatzel as well. So they're good rain setters for the tier. That's one. But obviously I think the thing that's going to be broken with this Mon is going to be the depends, but the Nasty Plot. Thunderbolt or Wild Bolt, I guess, if you want to miss. That's an option. Terra Blast, probably Ice. Or Flying. Flying is also an option too. And from there, Focus Blast. Grass Knot, depending. You can even just run this plus Grass Knot and just forgo your Terra. And you run like a defensive Terra, like Fairy. Or you don't want to get Aqua Step by Quavel or whatever, right? You want Water. So like these are all options too. I think this one would be another one that's too much for the tier. It's already fast as hell and has Nasty Plot. Like Jugulis, in my opinion, pre-home was, well, way pre-home. When I was doing the road top 10 with Jambad, I think that Mon was too much for the tier too. I really think that Mon was too, and it still didn't get banned. But imagine Jugulis with Nasty Plot, right? That's the same speed tier. So Nasty Mon, kind of similar, but the ability, but slower obviously, but stronger. Right, so the Nasty Plot sets seem crazy. Specs seem crazy on this one. Heavy duty boost, just offensive. Nice checker to everything, like a nice checker. Nice check to everything in the tier. But yeah, that's another. I think very similar. Maybe not banned as quickly as the other one, but definitely something that gets looked at. Because if you look at, let's look at Gen 8 OU for a sec, and then we're going to scroll down real quick. This Thundurus got banned, but this one didn't. But the thing about this tier though, and the current one, is that Excadrill, Amoonguss, and Nihilego were in UU. So those were all actual answers or checks as well. Whereas those mons are not either in the game or in UU. So that might be too much. I already touched on Torkoal. I think Sun's gonna be good. My friend Tornadus Therian. Dude, it's crazy how support-wise, Cyclizar is better in this tier than you. Literally has all the moves you used to have, right? Has knockoff, taunt, has defog in rapid spin, which is really funny. It's also the same speed tier. Like, are they making fun of this Pokemon? Like, imagine the whole thing wasn't a bike at first, like the dragon. It's like there was something else. It's like, let's just give it all of its move pool. But That's not to say I don't think Nasty Plot sets are pretty crazy, right? With Blakewind and her. There's another mon that like offensively might be too much for the tier. I don't know why I put this. You can run Focus Blast, obviously. Excuse me. For Tyranitar and stuff like that, but Sludge Bomb might be good for all the Terra Fairies, like just things like that. Terra Flying as well, super Bleakwind. You can run Hurricane as well if you're a demon. Obviously, you can run Taunt. I think Taunt Nasty Plot has a lot of potential too. With Boots, and you get a Regenerator, so a nice little stall breaker here too. Another mon, like it was funny because I'm gonna find that list and we're gonna probably talk about it on stream sometime. Because tonight I'll do the pick'ems on stream, but sorry I didn't stream yesterday. I was just busy. But tonight we'll do the pick'em on stream. But this mon is like I expected it to be UUBL/UU. So maybe use an OU eventually, right? As like a Nasty Plot taunter, but like the lack of support moves is really big when it comes to this Pokemon. We talked about Typhlosion a little bit too. Uxie is interesting, right? Can do the same thing. Can Stealth Rock and U-turn around. Can set up Rain and Sun. So a good support mon for both Rain and Sun. That's another mon you might see on that. Can set up Trick Room as well. Just a good support Pokemon. I'm sure Uxie eventually falls down to like RU, NU, and stays around those tiers. Just because it's a fantastic support mon. But that's about it. And then Zapdos, aka Gapdos. Oh god, dude. This thing with a Choice Band or Terra. Like in a tier where there's no Golden Go. Like to hard wall you. I also think Boots into like close combat into Stomping Tantrum was really good into Golden Go. But like no Golden Go to hard wall you is pretty nasty. So this is going to be crazy. I'm sure it probably runs Terra Ground as well. And not necessarily for a ground move, but for the electric immunity to all the electric types that are down here. To do a lot with that too. Yeah, Gyarados with like Agility, Bulk Up, or Bulk Up, Taunt, Grassy Seed, Agility, Grassy Seed, sets like that. With Rillaboom sounds really nasty as well. So I mean, and when it comes to UU is definitely getting the most shakeups out of every single tier, right? UU obviously got the most. Now let's look at OU to RU. And this is really freaking funny because somehow people were using Avalugg and Houndstone more than they were using Hoopa and Tornadus Incarnate. I just think it's really funny that people were using Avalugg enough for it to be RU and not UU or PU. It's crazy because regular Avalugg is RU too. It's an RU spitter. So maybe this one's okay. That's very funny. That's really funny. But yeah, regular Avalugg is RU. But Ice Rock, I think being pure ice is better than Ice Rock, man. Why? But Avalugg, decent spinner in this tier. It's the answer to like Crocodile and stuff, which is why people use it. I love that both Avalugg and Crobino are like chilling in the RU tier. I think that's really cool. That's good. I think that's really cool that they're chilling in the RU tier with their ice type brethren and Abomasnow. This Avalugg though, just being 4 times weak to steel, being like the added weaknesses that Rock gives you for the flying resist in this tier, by the way. For the flying resist in this tier, there is off the top of my head, what maybe one flying type? I can't even, yeah, Oricorio. That's the only one off the top of my head I can think of. That's it. That's the only flying type in this tier. So you resist Hurricane. Congratulations. You'll die to my Terra Ground, or you'll die to my Revelation Dance, period. My Terra Ground Revelation Dance or my regular Revelation Dance. I don't think Ice Rock is good for this mod. I think with Terra, it'll be fine. Obviously, offensively, Rock is nice next to Ice, but because they're two good offensive they're two good offensive coverages. You know, you got your Edge Quay, you got your Bolt Beam. Like you usually want Ice with something. Ice Rock is good. If this mod had been Ice Ground, dude, the defensive Mamoswine actually would have been good because we use Piloswine all the time with Eviolite. But yeah, I can't see it staying RU at all. Just being weak to the ground initially is so bad. It's so bad. Being weak to water initially is so bad too. Like all that, just the initial weakness is just really like I don't think it's like, I actually think regular Avalugg is better. Delphox though, this mon's a god. This mon is sick. With choice specs, with the choice spec set with Terra, overheats just straight up cooking. Terra Fire overheats, looking at this tier. Flash Fire that. Blissey, shoot, I got Psyshock for you right here. I got Psyshock right there. Nasty Plot, this mon got Nasty Plot now. I actually think Nasty Plot, like, I think right down here, the meta is not crazy enough for it to be bad. Right? So like Nasty Plot, Psyshock. Sorry. Flamethrower. No specs on this set, obviously. You run Boots. Nasty Plot, Psyshock, Flamethrower. And then you could either run Taunt. You could run Taunt if you want. Oh, they don't have taunt on this guy? I thought this mon learned taunt. Maybe I'm thinking about another mon. Anyway, whatever. Good. I don't want to run taunt anyway. I want coverage. So, Grass Knot potentially could work too, but Flamethrower, Psyshock, Dazzling Gleam with Terra Fairy is obviously strong. Focus Blast with Terra Fight is obviously strong too. Got all that stuff this gen, which I think is really, really nice, right? It can Terra to not lose to Lycanrocs or Crocodile, which I think is really good too. Terra Grass as well is not terrible. Or Grass Knot, right? So you Terra Grass in front of Crook or Lycanroc, you eat their hit. Lycanroc though, you don't resist, but you will eat a Stone Edge at least. And then you knock it out with Grass Knot and recover. So I think that's pretty nice. I also think it's really funny that Houndstone is... I think Specs might be a really good on that mon, dude. Specs is insane on Delphox. I found it funny that Houndstone was used more than even like Hoopa and Tornadus as well. Though Houndstone with Fluffy, obviously it doesn't have Last Respects, has a legitimate, like, it checks like Sneasler and things like that. It can also check Zamazenta with like Nightshade sets, which is run... This is the set that people ran. Like Nightshade, Rest, Will-O-Wisp, Body Press. Or Roar if you didn't want to run Rest. Roar is an option, but I think Rest is good too. Like a nice little King Gambit checking everything with Fluffy. I don't know if it stays in this tier. I don't think it offers much offensively. It's a fast. It's a ghost, not a fast ghost. It's a ghost, but I don't know. I don't see much. Like if I want a ghost offensively, I run Mismagius, I run Oricorio, I got Palisand defensively, Sableye defensively. I don't think there's space for this mon in this tier. I think it continues to fall. Zarude's going to be scooped up probably by UU. This mon's going to run RU. Legit. This mon is going to run RU. They gave it Swords Dance this gen, so it doesn't have to run Bulk Up. With Swords Dance, it literally kills stuff with this set. Like, it will only kill. All it does is kill. Naturally resisting ground as well. Also potential jungle healing. Terra type into something as well to be revenge. The Terra type into something so Scarf Passimian can't revenge kill you. This mon's going to run this tier. Legit. Terra type into something like Terra Steel. That way, Gardevoir, which is UU, by the way, no longer are you. We'll talk about those rises in a bit. Can't touch you. This mon's going to literally run this tier. It might probably get scooped up by UU eventually, too. All right, so Hoopa. Hoopa in NU. So let me tell you about the mons that are going to be banned immediately. All right, so Nasty Plot Hoopa might be too much for this damn tier. You just Terra Fairy and you beat everything. Everything Terra Fairies in this tier though. But you Nasty Plot, you Terra, you hit them with your what's it called? Your Terra Blast for your strong Fairy move. You got your Psyshock, you got your Shadow Ball. Scarf can do it too. Maybe I'm wrong though, but 150 special attack in this tier sounds pretty crazy. Like legitimately with Terra Fairy specifically, with Terra Fairy, just because there's nothing wrong with this tier with literally Terra Fairying Specs turn 1 and just clicking it, because this tier does not have good fairy switchings at all. This tier does not have good fairy switchings at all, man. Everything has to either become a steel or become a fairy. There's Muck, right? But when you're Muck and I just click Psyshock after, it doesn't matter. All right, so that's one of the answers to that. Mesprit, very good addition. Good addition defensively for this tier. Getting up Stealth Rock, a good rocker for this tier. Threatens like Sandaconda, the premier ground type of this tier. With like Ice Beam and stuff like that, Energy Ball, etc. So very premier, like Esprit. You see the usage right there. You have Sandaconda, you have Rotom. Bombardier is a Bombardier, whatever, is a good answer to it. Jolteon is really good. I like that Sneasler's number 6 in usage. Go Sneasler, you go. But yeah, Mesprit, Nasty Plot can be nice. Calm Mindsets can be nice as well with Draining Kiss, Terra Fairy as well. Seems very, very difficult to deal with. Store Power sets too. But it's gonna be a good month. Then we have the Raichu. So Alolan Raichu. Pincurchin's really, really low in the tiers, so that's something that can definitely just kind of be. Oh, also not to mention, holy crap, RU to NU, all the freaking drops. We'll talk about that in a second. But we have the this mon, Jolteon's really good in the tier, obviously, right? Jolteon's a top tier Pokemon in this tier with Calm Mind and everything. It's funny because you can even run like Calm Mind Hyper Voice with like Silk Scarf and everything. Rabbit ran the other day. But like Specs, Nasty Plot, just a fast Pokemon that can threaten things with Grass Knot and Surf, I think is nice. I think it's so funny that Tornadus is in this tier, man. I just think it's so hilarious. Like regular Tornadus in this tier. Are you kidding me, bro? Obviously, the first thing Rabia sent me was a Rain Team, because Rain in this tier can for sure work. Also, Nasty Plot, like just straight up Nasty Plot. Hurricane or Bleak Wind. I think Bleak Wind might be better on this one specifically because it's not as bulky as the other one. But Hurricane, Bleak Wind, you know, your Focus Blast, and then You want your Heat Wave, but there's not really, you don't need Heat Wave, so you run Grass on this tier to Oko, things like this, and then you run like Terra Blast Ground. You can even run Terra. You can even be a you can literally run Terra Blast if you want to run Terra Blast Ground too. You don't have to run Focus Blast. So Terra Blast Ground, like Oko, Jolteon, and things like that, and the hit. Like this set seems way too strong for NU. This is also a theory. This is also like a legendary. Like this scene, and I know that doesn't mean much when you have things like Regigigas and Regice and stuff like that. But like this is legitimately a GOAT. Like I feel like this mon wasn't NU before too. This mon was NU before. Was it 8th gen that it was NU? Let me see. Gen A NU. Was it NUBL in Gen 8? I feel like this mon might have been NUBL. Yeah, it was NUBL. Yeah, so I kind of feel like that's going to repeat itself when it comes to here. Weirdeer. I mean, Farigarath is in this tier. Farigarath actually offers Wish support, though, whereas Weirdeer doesn't. But Weirdeer can do the exact same thing with the Calm Mind, Terra Blast, Store Power stuff. So I'm sure that will be something that it runs around. Maybe you can run something with Assault Vest, but I think that's like whatever. OE to PU. Not really much to talk about when it comes to any of those Pokemon, in my opinion. Articuno lost everything, doesn't have Heal Bow. Calyrex isn't good. The Carbink isn't that great. And then Alolan Ductrio is interesting when it comes to the PU tier. I think that's the interesting one. It's like a PU. Let's look at the PU tier. Because they don't have like... They have Camerupt, which it beats with Earthquake. Carkol, which it beats with Earthquake. Has Stone Edge for Charizard. Actually, Ductrio is there too. Yeah, I think it has a decent shot in the PU tier. Like just offensively, it's really different. And it gets Swords Dance now too. And also being a Steel type, you actually get some resistances, which is nice. Same thing with the Alolan Persian. Very fast Pokemon. Can Terra Fairy here. Kind of like a fast Mischievous in my opinion with Nasty Plot. And being able to take hits. Violet. EVLA versus like Fur Coat, I think make a difference too. And then Tauros. Tauros is going to tear up this tier. Yeah, there's no way Tauros lasts in PU. Tauros is going to straight up. He's going to be PUBO for sure. Just straight up tears it up. Body Slam is free. Terra Normal. You can run Terra Dark for Mischievous or something like that. And Mischievous is actually a decent answer because it doesn't have Throw Chop anymore, but there's no freaking way Tauros stays here. And then, so let's go, let's keep going on the UU to RU drops. So basically Rain fell from UU, like literally fell. We have Floatzel and Kilowattrel, right? Floatzel, Inteleon, Kilowattrel, and the Water Bull. So those all fell. I want to say that Inteleon kind of just outclassed Record Ninja in OU. Honestly, like the UU, excuse me, the Protein, all that stuff, that makes a big difference when it comes to that Pokemon. Bramblegast falling down to UU is really interesting. Or falling down from UU is interesting because I actually thought it was pretty good as a Spiker and Rabbit Spinner in the tier. Same thing with Earthworm too, but I guess you don't need Earthworm when you had like Sandy Shocks to be able to click buttons and Spikes up and Tinkaton that can get up Stealth Rock. In terms of those in RU though, I think they'll be decent in the tier. Specifically because I mean Gardevoir lost RU, right? But it's a really, really good Crocodile switching, right? You don't care about that. It's a good Reverum switching. Can just set up hazards on them, and it's a good Mudsdale switching. Can set up hazards on them, so I like that a lot for it. Maybe with Terra Flies or Terra Fairies for Heracross and like things of the like. Bramblegast as well, another actual spinner for the RU tier, so that's pretty cool. Like these tiers need spinners. They have Tatsugiri, Avalugg, Cryogonal. It's just very funny. Like these tiers desperately need spinners, man. That's why they keep them. But big for that. From RU to NU though, crazy amounts of drops. NU Grimmsnarl is crazy. So dual screens being even better, and that you have Aurora Veil as well from Abomasnow. So dual screens and Aurora Veil. You have Blissey. It's a Titan plus Abomasnow plus Frostmoth. No way. No way Frostmoth and it's a Titan last, I think, with Abomasnow. No freaking way. I think Frostmoth in particular, Quiver Dance Mon is going to be being banned. I might already have been NUBL in my opinion, but Ditto, I want Ditto to get as low as possible. We want Ditto to be as low as possible when it comes to tiers, right? Because you want to be able to use Ditto in every single tier. Frostlass, great Spiker. Sableye, great Spin Blocker as well. NU to P, you got Whiscash back. I really think NU is going to be a bunch of quick bans. I think NU is going to have a bunch of quick bans. But in terms of PU, you got another Spiker back, which is nice. Something that could take hits from Dugtrio and things like that. PU to ZU. I don't really been looking at the ZU tier too much, so there's not really much to say there. I just think it's very funny that both Dragonair and Frogadier have been demoted from PU to NFE. So they were not fully evolved and they get demoted. I think that's really funny. But T-Spiker, honestly, it might actually be bad in this tier, right? Because of Luxray and Sudowoodo being as good as they are when it comes to this tier. Swalot's number 1 in ZU by a lot. 54%. Go Swalot, dude. Good job. I don't know what you're doing. I know what you're doing down there. The same way people get into schools and stuff. You sucking down there. That's it. 54%. Damn. I mean, they don't call it Swalot for a reason. They banned Grumpig, it looks like. Grumpig got banned from this tier, which is really funny. But yeah, I mean, that's a good one. In terms of the rises, Sandy Shocks to OU is big. RU to UU, Gardevoir. Gardevoir might actually go back down, but it's a good check to like Moltres and stuff like that. NUB out to UU and DD. Oh, and DD with Psychic Terrain with all these guys. That just sounds decent. NUB out to RU, Gudra, NU to RU. Okay, so these are big ones, right? These are big ones. NU to RU. So Vaporeon being gone from NU is huge. Look at the usage stats and look at NU. Vaporeon was number 9. Like 17% of people were putting Vaporeon on the team. This is actually really big too because thank God. I'm sorry, but like Vaporeon plus Muck was one of the most frustrating things to fight, in my opinion. So I'm actually very, very grateful that these Mons that Mon's gone. That's not to say that NU is lost for a Wish Passer, right? I believe we still have Umbreon. Yeah, Umbreon there. But Umbreon's a lot easier to deal with, in my opinion, than Vaporeon. I feel like you might be like, what? No, it's not. Well, it's mainly because like that Mon absorbs water. Whereas like Umbreon's not going to come in on Clawitzer and things like that. So like my breakers can actually like break. Like my Tauros Paldea Combat. Or excuse me, my Water Tauros, which I think fell down to this tier as well. Right? Yep. No, are you? What am I saying? But that's also really big too for like a Titan check and things like that too. Sneasel, excuse me. Sneasel and Hatchram. Yeah, both are great. All those Mons that moved to UU, Sneasel is really freaking good in UU, right? Close Combat, Gunk Shot, Trailblaze, Terra Grass. You guys saw how many sweeps we got with that Pokemon in the video. Suing Gudra, Sliggoo, excuse me, is very good too, defensively and offensively. Quillfish is super freaking good, whether it be on rain. It's actually nasty on rain in the tier, or it's just defensively would Intimidate and Eviolite. Very, very good. Absorbs T-Spike too, getting them up. Hatchram was also a nice Mon that's been spammed a lot with Rest Talk, Nuzzle, Psychic sets. I know like Trick Room sets as well, but that's the big one when it comes to that. ZU to PU is kind of wild because if you look at this, right? If you look at, I guess Luxray wasn't actually top 10. I actually thought Luxray was a little bit better in the ZU tier, but never mind. That's not that big of a deal. Though, well, let's look at the viability. I'm sure viability rankings is rated pretty decent. And then NFE to PU, Dunsparce is being used in PU. Yeah, I guess that's big for ZU, right? Because ZU just lost Dunsparce, where it was number 6 in usage. So big for that tier. But that's really about it, right? Kind of hard to talk about all the other ones because it's like we don't know how the tiers are going to be right now, and the rises don't matter as much in this, in my opinion, than Hatchram being gone from obviously. Hatchram being gone from PU is a big one, but that's about it. Yeah, either way. I don't know. Either way, I'm excited to play these new tiers. What do you guys think about these new tiers? Please let me know down below which changes were the craziest for you. Let me know down below. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.